Test, test, test. One, two, three. Hopefully, this is coming through loud and clear. Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, September the 20th. My name is Lee Hayward, and I want to welcome you to our video chat. If you are joining in for the first time, it's always nice to have new people joining in. And if you are a regular, welcome back. This is something that I've been doing for quite a while now, and I always enjoy our Friday afternoon video chats. So let us see. If this is coming through loud and clear, if you can hear me and see me, please let me know. Type into the chat window or into the comments, wherever you are watching from, and let me know if this is coming through loud and clear on your end. I always want to do that before we get into answering questions, because sometimes it doesn't come through. Coming through loud and clear. Thank you, Lee. Much appreciated. We've got Sean joining in. Welcome, Sean. We'll get into questions now in a moment. We have a free game joining in. Hey, what's up, Lee? What's up? How's it going, guys? Glad to have you joining in. As you're popping on to the live chat, feel free to introduce yourself. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're brand new, let me know in the chat window. It's always nice to have new people joining in. And the way these chats work is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion that you have related to health and fitness. Anything with regards to your workouts, with regards to your eating plan, with regards to building muscle, losing fat, any of those specific fitness and nutrition related topics, type those into our question comments section there. So it's whether you're on YouTube, there's going to be a live chat alongside the video. If you're on Facebook, there's going to be the comments below. That's where we're streaming from Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. So feel free to type in your questions and topics of discussion there, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat. Now, even though I've been in the fitness industry for 30 plus years, it's a passion of mine, I don't claim to be a know-it-all, right? I've learned a few things over the last 30 years, but I don't claim to be a know-it-all. So if there's something that I can't help you with, I won't try and give you hype or BS, but I will try and point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. I've got a large network of people in the fitness industry, so if I can't help you with your specific challenges or questions, I may be able to direct you to somebody who can. All right, who else? We got Robert's joining in. Welcome, Robert. Glad to have you joining. Lots of questions and comments coming through there now. Good stuff. All right, we will definitely jump into this very shortly. First off, before we get into today's chat and Q&A, I want to let you know that we are going to be launching another Lose Your Gut Challenge next weekend. So there's still time to register if you are interested in coming on board, because I know every time I run one of these Lose Your Gut Challenges, a lot of people pop on board, but then afterwards I always get people say, oh, I wish I had known about that Lose Your Gut Challenge. I would have registered, yada, yada, yada. So if you're interested in losing the gut and sustaining it as a lifestyle without feeling like you're suffering it out on some crazy cutting diet, then you'll want to participate in the Lose Your Gut Challenge, because it's all about how to create healthy, sustainable, lasting habits that are going to allow you to lose the gut and keep it off without feeling like you're on a diet. All right, that's the key. You want to be able to do this and enjoy the process. And the Lose Your Gut Challenge is basically the first phase of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program. So for those of you who are going through the Muscle After 40 program, you can certainly go through the Lose Your Gut Challenge as a refresher. And I always encourage my coaching students to do that, because it's always nice to revisit the basics, because you need to become a master of the basics in order to take things to the next level, right? You can't ignore the basics, regardless of how good you get. Like whatever it is that you're doing, like you look at elite level athletes, you look at musicians, you look at anybody, they're always going back to the basics. Like you'll see top basketball players. What do? They practice throwing free throws. You look at musicians, they still go back to practicing the basic scales. You still have to work on the basics. You still have to lay that foundation and build that foundation stronger if you want to progress to advanced levels. So the Lose Your Gut Challenge, it's all about laying the foundation for a sustainable, healthy fitness and nutrition lifestyle. And it's basically the metabolic reboot phase of the Muscle After 40 program. So that's what we're going to be going into. And if you've done a Lose Your Gut challenge before, then you know how it works. I mean, each time I do these challenges, I always elaborate on them, add to them, because as I'm progressing through my fitness and nutrition journey and becoming more experienced as a coach and working with more people, I'm always picking up new things, right? And I'm adding and modifying the challenges as we go to make it even more impactful, to make it more beneficial so that you can actually take this stuff and utilize it to achieve your health and fitness goals. And this challenge is going to be no different. I'm promising that it's going to be better than the last one. And that's the whole goal of this. We want to be better than we were before, right? That's the premise. It's not about perfection, right? Because I don't believe perfection exists, but it's all about progress. And we can always strive to be better than we were before. And I strive to do the same thing with the Lose Your Gut Challenge. Strive to make this one better than the last one. And so if you're interested in coming on board with it, you can head on over to leehayward.com. In fact, what I'll do is I'll type in the link to the challenge page where you can get all the details and register for the challenge. So I'm just getting the link there. It's the Lose Your Gut Challenge 2024. And if you head on over to leehayward.com, it's the first pinned post there. But I'm just typing it into our chat window there. Lose Your Gut Challenge details, I'll say. You can go check that out over on my website. And that explains what the Lose Your Gut Challenge is, how it works, yada, 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 as well as the link there to register, right? So you need to register, right? Enter your name and email address in there so that you're registered for the challenge. And just want to let you know, we are capping it at 100 people, right? I want to keep this to a small group of guys who are going to go through the challenge and implement it, right? Because we're going to be going deep. This is basically 5 days of intensive virtual coaching where you're going to get a proven action step-by-step plan, a proven step-by-step action plan. I'm getting tongue-tied here, where we're going to outline the first phase of the Muscle After 40 program. Now, just for full clarification, I'm not promising that you're going to lose your gut over the course of the Lose Your Gut Challenge, but you're going to get the tools, tactics, and strategies and the how-to that you're going to need to implement in order to lose your gut. Like, it's going to take longer than 5 days to lose your gut. Like, let's be honest. I'm not a miracle worker, right? But you can take what you learn throughout that 5-day coaching program and implement it to lose your gut. And a lot of guys have achieved amazing physique transformations going through this. So I just want to share this really quickly before we get into your Q&A here. I just want to share my screen so you can get an idea how this works here. Share screen. Right here, the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All right, so if you head on over to leehayward.com, this is what you shall see over there. I'm going to make that a little bigger. All right, good stuff. So basically, this outlines the challenge. But what I want to do is just show you some of the guys who have gone through our past challenges, right? And you can see some of the results. I mean, obviously, Jeff Samatero, who's my podcast co-host and sidekick over at the Muscle After 40 program, he's gone through it and achieved an amazing physique transformation. But a lot of guys, have gone through the challenge. Like, prime example here, this is an old high school mate of mine, Steve Gilbert. He went through the Lose Your Gut Challenge, and he goes through them every time we run them. And I mean, he's made an amazing transformation by utilizing what he's learned through the Lose Your Gut Challenge and the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program to lose over 100 pounds. And he's kept that weight off. Like, not only has he lost the weight, but he has kept it off. All right. Craig Ward, another guy, went through the challenge, lost 45 pounds, lost that gut, and achieved some abdominal definition. Right. A lot of people has went through this to lose their belly fat and improve muscle definition, increase their strength, energy, and stamina. And that's why I'm so excited about this. I actually had a comment today of someone saying, "Oh, you're too pushy about that Lose Your Gut Challenge thing." It's a free freaking challenge, and it's a life-changing transformation for a lot of people. So yeah, I apologize for being excited about helping people to improve their health and fitness and achieve a better quality of life. But I get where he's coming from, because quite honestly, I mean, sure, I'm excited about this, but I can't want it more than you do. So the reality is, I mean, I would love for each and every one of you who is serious about losing body fat and getting in your best shape to go through the challenge, to implement it, and to actually achieve a fitness and fat loss transformation. But the reality is, most people are not going to do so, right? Most people kind of just follow fitness and nutrition. like even following my content, a lot of times I find they follow it almost like a sports fan follows sports. It's like, yeah, I'm interested in it and I follow it to see what's on the go, but I really have no intentions of applying it or doing it myself. It's almost like someone who's a football fan, right? Like a lot of people watch football, but they don't play. Right? They have no intentions of training like a football player or ever getting on the field or ever playing a football match or anything like that. But they love watching it and following along with it and just vicariously living through through the sport of football. And a lot of people are doing that with fitness. Like they love watching fitness influencers and they love watching YouTube videos and following social media, but they don't actually apply it for themselves. And it's amazing the number of people who are like that. Now, I know some of you who are watching this right now, you can probably relate to what I just said. Others are probably saying, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, I'm in the gym 6 days a week, busting my ass, right? So we have everything from, the 6 days a week busting their ass to the one of these days I might go to the gym to, I have no intentions of ever going to the gym, but I just like following fitness information because, it's just a cool thing to follow. I don't know, but we get everything. But for those of you who are actually willing to put the work in and actually are interested in achieving a real and sustainable fitness and fat loss transformation, then the Lose Your Gut Challenge is definitely somewhere where you want to be. So head on over to leehayward.com and you can register. And again, it's free. It's a free coaching program, right? There's, I don't know how it can be any more direct than that. But the whole idea behind it is I want to give you the first phase of the program because I know after going through that, a certain number of people are going to be serious and want to take it to that next level. And if that's you, then we can certainly discuss, coming on board with our advanced VIP coaching program afterwards. But there's no obligation. Like you can literally just try it out, go through the whole free 5-day coaching program. And for a lot of people, they'll get what they need from that free 5-day coaching program. But for those of you who are serious, that small 10% of action takers who are not satisfied with just being average, you want to go over and above and beyond, then those are the ones who are probably going to benefit from our advanced VIP coaching program. And if that's something you're interested in, then that's an option that's available after you go through the challenge. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to jump into some Q&A, and we have several Q&As coming through here. Good stuff. First off, a question just seen there. Do you have a set time, a day and time you do these live Q&As? Yes, Friday, live at 5. So 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's North American Eastern time. I have to clarify that because, sometimes I have people from, I remember I had a group of people from Australia and different places saying, well, hey, I logged in at Eastern time and you weren't there. And I said, well, it's North America. So North American Eastern time. So the time we are now, this is a regular thing every Friday, right? And if for some reason I can't make it, I usually post it in advance, but it's pretty darn more Fridays than not. I'm here live at 5. All right, let's see what else we got there. Let's jump right in. I think Sean is saying, do you think weighted pull-ups are better for hypertrophy than pull-downs if you could pick one? It depends on the individual. Now, as far as weighted pull-ups, I mean, pull-ups with body weight alone is a hard exercise. And quite honestly, most people that you see at the typical fitness gym are not strong enough to do pull-ups or are not strong enough to do them with high enough repetitions and good enough form to actually make them a good muscle hypertrophy exercise. So it depends on one's fitness level. If you are strong enough to do pull-ups and do them properly with good form, then yeah, they are a superior exercise. But the problem with body weight exercises like pull-ups is you have to be strong enough to lift your entire body weight, and not everybody is. So if that is the case, either you're just not strong enough to do them, then the pull down is a much better variation. So it's not a right or wrong or anything like that. It depends on the individual who's doing them. For some people, the pull up is better. For others, the pull down is better. It really depends on the individual. Another question. Do you ever eat bison? Is it better than beef gram for gram? Honestly, I don't think there's much difference. I mean, they're both red meat. Some people prefer bison. I mean, one thing you will find, bison is a very lean meat, right? Like, because the way bison is, there's fat on bison, obviously, but it's more on the surface than throughout the meat itself. I find with beef, you very often get a lot of fat, depending on the cut, of course, but there's more fat in the meat itself. Whereas bison, like if you have like a bison steak, it tends to be a leaner cut, or if you're getting ground bison or something, it tends to be a bit leaner. But other than that, I mean, the protein, it's pretty much the same, right? I mean, there's going to be some differences in the nutrients or whatever, but if you're getting 50 grams of protein from bison or 50 grams of protein from beef, like it's still 50 grams of protein. So I don't, from a muscle building hypertrophy point of view, I really don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It really comes down to personal preference and what do you enjoy. And the best scenario would be to have a wide variety of protein sources. So beef and bison and chicken and fish and eggs and dairy and turkey and yada yada yada. Like have a wide variety, because each one is going to have a different nutritional profile, different micronutrients, different, all those things that are going to help you. So different vitamins and minerals and different fats. Because another thing, when you're eating protein foods, especially animal protein foods, it's a good source of protein, and it's also a good source of fat. And you do want some fats in moderation. So change it up. Right, like beef is and red meat is a good source of B vitamins, good source of iron. When you get into other sources like fish, often it's a good source of protein, but it's also a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. So we want to have a combination of different protein sources and not just sticking to one. Like say, oh, I only eat fish, or I only eat chicken, or I only eat beef, or I only eat whatever. Not like eat a wide variety of protein sources so that you get the balanced nutrition from them all. All right, what else we got there? Kenji is saying, could you please provide your favorite exercises to build all three areas of the triceps? My favorite tricep building workout would be a positions of flexion tricep workout. So a mid-range, a fully stretched, and a peak contraction. And there's different exercises you can utilize to hit the mid-range, the fully stretched, and the peak contraction. But that is a general guideline. Like if you're looking for the optimal hypertrophy workout for maximizing muscle growth, positions of flexion, where you incorporate the different ranges of motion, would be the ideal. Now, you could do that all within the same workout. You could split it up over the course of several workouts. But if you really want to get a good tricep building workout, what I would recommend is probably do some form of mid-range exercise, which could be like a tricep dip, close grip bench press, something along those lines as a mid-range power move. For the fully stretch, you want to do some sort of like overhead tricep extension, or like a skull crusher or French press, something along those lines where you're stretching out and getting a full range of motion, full stretch to stretch out the long head of the tricep. And then you want to do something where you're going to hit that peak contraction, such as like a dumbbell kickback, or maybe a rope push down, or something along those lines where you really get a hard peak contraction in the triceps, where you really got to fight to lock it out and to hold that locked out position. So if you're getting all those, the mid-range, fully stretched, and peak contraction, you're going to hit all three heads of the triceps and maximize tricep development. Right. And if you want some samples of those, you can head on over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and there's playlists covering positions of flexion. So if you literally just do a search there for positions of flexion, you'll see some workouts that cover this. And we even go into greater detail into that within the Blast Your Biceps program. It's blastyourbiceps.com. Even though it's called Blast Your Biceps, it's an arm specialization program. So there's biceps and triceps, but I titled it Blast Your Biceps for the alliteration, and it sounds cool. But there's also it's not just biceps, it's triceps as well. So if you're looking for an arm specialization program to build the triceps, the Blast Your Biceps program would be a good one to check out as well. I know a lot of you who are watching this, I recognize the names, have gone through that program and have made some great progress with it. Well, here's an interesting one. What are some things about Arnold Schwarzenegger's training methods that you actually disagree with? There's a lot of things I disagree with, and one of it is just the whole volume attitude, and sometimes you got to take things with a grain of salt. Like when you listen to Arnold's motivational speeches and him talking about, the good old days, he's like, okay, I worked out 4 or 5 hours a day, twice a day, and then I worked on my business, and then I did acting classes, and then I did this, and then I did that, and then I blah blah blah. Like you only have 24 hours in the day, right? And when Arnold gets spewing and doing some of these videos, when you add up all the time he did everything, he must have a 48-hour day in order to squeeze it all in. Like, you can't do everything all at once every single day. And the whole idea of these 4 or 5 hour workouts twice a day or whatever it was, yob yob, like that's overkill, right? So some of the volume and some of the stuff he talked about, I mean, I'm sure there were times in his training phases when he did multi-hour workouts and put in a lot of time and effort, but as a day in, day out lifestyle, like, no, that's not sustainable. That's not something you're going to do on an ongoing basis, right? Like, you look at any pro athlete, like when they're pushing and training for competition, like prime example, we had the Olympics this year. I mean, if you look at the pre-Olympic training of some of those athletes, yes, they're pushing the limits in the months leading up to the Olympics, but afterwards they're going to go into a deload phase, and then they're going to go into some sort of maintenance or off-season training phase. Like, you can't push the limits flat out all the time. And sometimes when you hear, like, you watch Arnold's videos or something, you read about it and stuff, like he's spewing like these 4 or 5 hour workouts as if, hey, if you're not training 4 or 5 hours a day, you're lazy or whatever. Like, most people aren't doing 4 to 5 hours a week, let alone 4 or 5 hours a day. So that's some of the stuff that I'm don't agree with. And how he's talking about, like, how you have to do all these different exercises to hit the muscles. Like, you have to do, multiple exercises. And I mean, sure, you can include different exercises, but some of it comes to a point where it's overkill, right? Like, you don't need to do flat benches and incline benches and decline benches and then barbell benches and then dumbbell benches and Smith machine benches, and like, you don't need to do all that in a single workout. Like, you can just choose like one or two bench variations and stimulate for that workout. Now, over the course of your training cycle or a program over time, sure, you can add in different variations, but you don't have to do every single exercise variation in every single workout. Right? So, yeah, just I guess the sheer volume and hype. That's some of the stuff that I don't agree with, for sure. But with that being said, I'm a huge Arnold fan. I even have, I don't have it on my bookshelf here. It's in the bookshelf out in the living room. I have a signed copy of Arnold's biography, right? So that's a good collector's piece for sure. The Total Recall book that he had, his biography book, it's an autographed by Arnold himself copy of that book on my bookshelf. So I am a huge Arnold fan. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm bashing Arnold, right? I mean, he had a huge impact on my training in the early days, and I was a huge fan, but just take some of the stuff he says with a grain of salt. Right. What else we got there? What percentage of the population do you think can bench 300 pounds? That's my goal. I'm at 290. Honestly, less than 1%. Like, it's such a small. Like, first off, what percentage of the population goes to the gym on a regular basis? Probably 10%. What percentage of the people who go to the gym on a regular basis are benching 300 plus? Pretty freaking small. I mean, that, I know when you watch social media and you're looking at YouTube videos and you're seeing like elite level powerlifters and, your favorite influencers, like, they make it seem like everybody's, warming up with 300 pounds. Like, hey, it's no big deal. But in the real world, like, that is very freaking rare, right? That is not a common occurrence. Like, prime example, like, if you go into any local gym, and I'm not talking like going into some elite level powerlifting gym, but I'm talking like you're going into your Planet Fitness or your Anytime Fitness or your LA Fitness or your whatever Crunch, and your regular run of the mill, big box gym. how many people are there repping out with 3 plates aside on the bench press? Like, it's not a regular occurrence. It really isn't. That is high level stuff. Now, sure, there are guys who can do it, but again, percentage wise, it's pretty freaking rare, right? So, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, but I'm guessing it's 1% or less of the population can bench 300 plus. Again, I don't know if if there's statistics out there on that, but there probably is. But again, it's small, right? Put it that way. Just take note of it. Like, next time you're at the gym and looking around, like, how many people are lifting that kind of weight? Very few. If you could only choose one of the following exercises, which would it be? Flat bench or incline bench? If I had to choose, I would probably choose the flat, personally. And you have to realize this is a hypothetical question because we're not limited to just one or the other. I mean, this is, would you rather type things. Anytime you do a bench press, you're hitting the entire chest. Now, granted, when you do an incline, there tends to be a bit more upper chest stimulation. When you do a decline, there's going to be a little bit more lower chest stimulation. When you do a flat, it's more overall chest stimulation. But the whole chest contracts every time you do a bench press, regardless of the angle. So if I had to choose one, I would want to hit the overall chest to the best advantageous position possible, and that would be the flat bench. But from a practical point of view, if you find like your upper chest is lagging, then maybe you want to prioritize doing some incline work for a while. I mean, I did that, back in the day when I was competing in bodybuilding. I wanted to fill out my upper chest more, especially for like the side chest and the most muscular poses and stuff. So I went through a phase where I did primarily incline work to try and fill out that upper chest. But if I had to just choose one, I would choose the flat because it's still going to hit the overall chest. We have Neil joining in. It says, Lee, I'm curious about your thoughts about these health watches, I think. I've been using this to monitor stuff like heart rate, calories, tracking, pedometers, blood oxygen, sleep cycles, and stuff. Don't know if there's any follow up to that. I personally don't have a health watch, if you will, like a Fitbit or a Garmin or a Apple Watch or whatever. But I do have a Garmin bike computer, which I use for tracking my cycling workouts, right? So there is some power to it for sure. I mean, I think it gives you some good insights on things that you probably would not be aware of. Like, prime example, like when I do a cycling workout, and that's my primary fitness focus now. Like, I'm cycling and I supplement that with strength and conditioning in the gym because I mean I still love strength and conditioning in the gym, but I do it for health and injury prevention. But I'm not trying to become bigger. Like, I'm not trying to be a heavyweight bodybuilder anymore or anything like that. I'm just trying to be a lean and healthy and fit and injury free, mobile, and basically optimize my health and fitness for longevity. But my competitive side is now on the cycling. Like, I compete in cycling races on the local level, and it's just a fun hobby. I mean, I know I'm not going to be a top level cyclist. I mean, I'm not even going to be a top local cyclist for that matter. But it's fun. I enjoy it. I mean, it's just a fun hobby that keeps me active and it gives me some motivation to train and push myself. And of course, cycling now is something that I really focus on. And tracking my heart rate, tracking my VO2 max, and that kind of stuff, tracking power output, which all is done through the bike computer. And of course, I wear a chest heart rate monitor. I mean, that insight is very valuable because it allows me to track and monitor my workouts and know, instead of just gauging by perceived exertion, I actually have some hard set numbers that I can compare it to. So it's nice to have the data, and that's what you'll get with these watches. Now, with that being said, sometimes you have to take the numbers with a grain of salt, especially when it says like the calorie burnt and stuff like that. Sometimes it may overestimate, sometimes it may underestimate, but it gives you a ballpark guesstimate of your calorie expenditure. Same with the sleep cycles and stuff like that. Like if you wake up in the morning and you feel exhausted and you're tired, but your watch said you had a great night's sleep, okay, like take it with a grain of salt. Or vice versa, right? If you wake up feeling energized and refreshed and you're like, hey, man, I had a great night's sleep. I feel good to go. But your watch says you had a shitty night's sleep. You know, take it with a grain of salt. That's all I'm saying. Like it usually the numbers correlate with how you're feeling, but not always, right? So, but it is useful information that you wouldn't have otherwise, right? You know, like, same with the heart rate. Like sometimes, your heart rate variability can help give you some insights whether you're overtraining or not, or if you're well rested. And usually, when you're working harder, you should have a higher heart rate. But sometimes it doesn't always correlate like that. You know, especially if you're starting to get into the overtrained state. Sometimes the heart rate doesn't match the perceived exertion. So it is useful to have those numbers and that data, but it's just more feedback and more information. Like, is it critical? No, you can still make progress without having smart watches to monitor stuff. I mean, people trained for years and got in great shape without any of this stuff, but it's just another tool in the toolbox, and it can certainly give you an edge if you take that and utilize it. But I still wouldn't ignore it. I still wouldn't ignore your perceived exertion and your gut instincts of how your body responds. Like, you still want to have that acuity to know your body, to know when you're feeling well rested, to know when you're feeling overtrained, to know when you're feeling hungry and when you need to eat more and all that. Like, it's nice to have that sensory acuity with your body, but it's also nice when the numbers can back up how you're feeling, just to help give you that extra reassurance. So certainly a valuable tool. I mean, I know a lot of my coaching students do use them. Most endurance athletes now certainly use tools like that for tracking, whether it is a watch or whether it is in the case of cyclists, using a cycling computer. And the cycling computer basically does all that for you because it's tracking the power and the heart rate, and you put in your stats in terms of your height and your weight and everything else, and it can calculate how many calories you're burning. But again, there's margin of error with those stuff as well. So don't take it too literally is what I'm getting at. Another question. What is your physical mental mantra to get yourself to exercise when you're down and out? Something is better than nothing. That's what I always tell myself. Something is better than nothing. So if I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling exhausted, I'm like, I don't really feel like working out today, blah, I'm just going to do something. Just give myself permission to just get out the door and move. Like, my minimum exercise is like, if I don't feel like going to the gym, I'm tired and this, let me just put on my sneakers and get outside and go for a walk. Like, just go for a 10-minute walk up the road for 5 minutes, turn around, walk back. And what very often happens is just the act of putting on my sneakers and getting out the door. After a few minutes of walking, I start to feel a bit better. Now, sometimes I may literally walk 5 minutes up the road, turn around, walk back, and do a 10-minute walk. Other times I might do it, and after 5 minutes, I'm saying, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I think I'll keep going. And that initial 10-minute walk that I had set out to do might end up turning into a 20 or 30-minute walk or more. So sometimes that's what happens. But I always give myself permission to do something. Something is better than nothing. And that applies with going to the gym. Like, sometimes I might say, I don't feel very strong, or I don't feel very rested, or whatever, or I'm really busy, I don't have time for a full workout. I can go in and do a little workout, right? I can do something. And very often when I'm doing these little mini workouts, I may not actually go to the gym. I might just go to my home gym. I've got some basic equipment like free weights and some cable pulleys down in my basement home gym. So I might say, I don't have time, or I don't have the energy to go in there and do a full on, hour plus gym workout, but hey, I can go down and do like a little 20-minute circuit routine. I can do some body weight and some dumbbell exercises and that down in the home gym, get a little pump, and something's better than nothing. That's my mantra. I always keep reminding myself that, something's better than nothing. And then another one that I always like to say as well is, we want to be good enough, and good enough consistently. Like, let go of the all or nothing trap. Like, that's the biggest hurdle that everyone, well, not everyone, but most people struggle with. is they think, well, if I can't be perfect, if I can't go all in, if I can't, be 100% with the workout and have the perfect program and the perfect diet and yada, 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 if I can't be all in, then screw it. What's the point of doing anything at all? So this is all or nothing. And when you have the all or nothing mindset, you rarely ever get it all, and you usually end up with nothing. And I'm willing to bet a lot of you who probably have perfection mindset thinking, like, well, when I get that perfect workout program, when I get that perfect diet plan, and when everything is perfect, and I got nothing on my schedule, and I got all the time in the world, and all the stars in the heavens above align, and everything is perfect, once it's perfect, then I'm going to start. Well, for those of you who are waiting for perfection, I bet you look like shit in the meantime because it's never going to be perfect, right? You have to be happy with good enough, right? It just has to be good enough and good enough consistently, right? Another way we can look at it is you want to strive to be consistently good versus occasionally great. Because sometimes when people are the all or nothing, every now and then you might have a little phase where, okay, I'm going to go all in. Like maybe over the summer you had some time, or where your schedule wasn't that busy and you had extra time to go to the gym and yada yada. So maybe you were all in for a few weeks. But then once life kicks in and the kids are back to school and I got more work responsibilities and yada yada yada, now he's like, oh, I'm not all in anymore. Well, screw it. What's the point of doing anything at all if I can't be all in? Or maybe you were perfect with your diet, like never had a cheat meal, never had drank any alcohol. It was perfect, squeaky clean diet. Did that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then something happened, and I ended up going out to the restaurant and ate too much. Oh, screw it, the diet's blown. Now go back to my old eating habits because I blew the diet. Like it doesn't have to be perfect; it just has to be good enough, right? So give yourself permission to take imperfect action, right? Good enough consistently. Something's better than nothing. Like get out of these mental blocks and overthinking it. Now, that's another thing. It's just overthinking. Like just freaking do it. Like the Nike commercial says, just do it. Right? Don't think, just do. Get off your freaking ass and do it. And the more often you do that, the easier it's going to be, and the more it starts to become habitual. And then now you're not even overthinking your workouts or overthinking your eating. You're just doing it. It's doing it on habit, autopilot. Like prime example, like do you have to overthink to watch television, or do you have to overthink to open up social media? No, you just do it. You don't even think about it. It's just autopilot. Your phone dings, you reach for it, you grab, say, oh, who text messaged me? Who notified me on social media? Who, whatever. It's autopilot. You want your health and fitness to become like that as well, where you don't overthink it, you just do it. Right? Like mealtime rolls around. Like, am I going to eat protein for this meal? I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. Should I? Should I not? No, of course you do. Right? You don't overthink it. You just do it. Same as like when your phone dings. Do you say like, oh, am I going to pick up my phone and see who text messaged me? Am I going to do it? Most people don't even, their brain doesn't even have a chance to kick in. Their subconscious already got the phone up when it dings. You want it to become autopilot. You want to create autopilot habits and reactions for positive things and not just time wasters like social media. So mealtime rolls around. Am I going to eat protein? Of course I'm going to eat protein. It's a mealtime. That's not even up for debate, right? Am I going to exercise? Of course I'm going to exercise. Now, the intensity of the exercise and the duration may vary depending on how rested and recovered I am, but I'm going to exercise. I'm going to get something done because something is better than nothing. So you just have to make these habits and switches in your mind so that it becomes autopilot, right? It's like, I'll give you a prime example. Like think of a smoker. Like, do they wake up in the morning and think, am I going to smoke a cigarette today or am I not going to smoke a cigarette today? I don't know, man. Maybe should I smoke? Should I not? No, they already got the butt in their mouth and the lighter going before they even think about it. It's happening on the subconscious level, right? Or a coffee drinker. Like, does a coffee drinker wake up in the morning and say, hey, am I going to brew a pot of coffee today or not? Like, they're already chugging back the caffeine before the mind even has a chance to think about it, right? You want to have that same type of reaction with your health and fitness, right? Don't overthink it. Just freaking do it. All right, what else we got there? Lee is joining in saying, I'm away next weekend on a stag do in Portugal. So sadly, I can't do the Lose Your Gut Challenge. Anyone that hasn't done it before should give it a go. You'll gain loads of info and it's good fun. Well, I appreciate you for sharing that. I mean, unfortunately, you won't be able to do the challenge, obviously, if you're away. But if it's only for the weekend, you can still pick up where you left off. Because, I mean, as you know, doing the challenges before, uh, you can easily catch up within a day or two because the first couple days of the challenge, we're really just laying the foundation. We don't really get into the so-called action steps, if you will, till a couple days in, right? For those of you who've done it before. So if it's only for the weekend, you could still pop on and participate. There's no harm in that. But I do appreciate you for sharing how you should give it a go and you'll gain a load, and it is fun. Absolutely, it is. Right? It's more of an educational challenge than a physical one, and I just want to clarify that too, because a lot of people think, well, oh, I can't work out because I got a bad knee, or I can't do this because of that. Right? This is an educational challenge. It's a coaching program challenge, if you will. It's like, I'm not going to ask you to do 100 push-ups or run 10 miles or anything like that. Like, it's the biggest challenge is we're going to try and improve your eating habits and be better than you were before, right? We're going to start laying some improving better eating and exercise and lifestyle habits. It's not a physically demanding challenge. And in fact, I'm willing to bet that everybody, even if you're brand new to fitness and nutrition, you could still follow along with the Lose Your Gut Challenge and benefit from it. Like, it's not a physically demanding challenge, but it will push you outside your comfort zone. I will say that. Right? And that's where you need to be if you want to progress, you want to grow. All right. What else we got? Rich joining in. Plan Planning to return back to the gym after 8 years of not training. My last lift was heavy lift as 22 years old, now 30. Is muscle memory a real thing, as I have read? Is it possible to return lost gains? All right. You haven't worked out in 8 years. That's quite a while. So going back to the gym, you are going to be starting off basically like a beginner all over again. Now, I don't know how developed and how muscular you were, 8 years ago. That's when we're talking about muscle memory, like, generally speaking, it's easier to regain lost muscle the second time around than it was to gain it the first time around. But there is a point of, we have to be realistic here. Like, 8 years is a freaking long time, right? Like, let's be honest. So if you haven't done any training at all in the last 8 years, what you gained in the past, it's like there's not much of it left there. All right, just being honest. How that would really apply, like, let's just say you worked out for 8 years and then you took a year off and then you went back at it again. You would regain your previous level of fitness a lot quicker after a layoff like that than it took you to initially build that muscle in the first place. So again, you can regain lost muscle faster the second time around, but there becomes a point, especially when you're your multi years of inactivity, that's going to play a role. So I would just put it in your mind now, you're starting off from scratch, right? Yes, you worked out in the past and everything else, which is great. I mean, that'll probably give you a heads up in terms of, you're familiar with the gym, you kind of know what to expect to a certain extent. But as far as progress, as far as the whole learning curve, and as far as the training and the nutrition and everything else, you're at ground zero, and go into it with that mentality. Like, you're at ground zero, and just focus on being better than you were before. Right? Don't get hung up on, oh, well, when I was 22, I used to do this and that and the other thing. Like, no, that was then. This is now, right? You're at a different level, different stage of life, and that was a long time ago, right? So just focus on starting off from scratch. What else we got? We have Sean joining in. Oh, hello. You good? I am good. Hope you're good as well. We have Eagle Eye John. Says, Lee, in Uncle Ben's rice, there's 50 55 grams of salt is that bad for a fatter stomach, and how much sodium is that water weight? What kind of salt has 55 grams? You must mean milligrams. There's a big difference between grams and milligrams. I'm quite positive that there's not 55 grams of salt in your Uncle Ben's rice. If not, you're not eating rice, you're eating salt chunks. 55 milligrams of salt, which I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Now, I don't have a package of Uncle Ben's rice in front of me to verify the nutrition label, but I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. That's hardly nothing. Like 55 milligrams is not much salt at all. And quite honestly, salt is not the bad guy that everybody makes it out to be. Like, you need salt to function. Salt is an essential electrolyte. If you don't have enough salt in your system, your body will not function. Your muscles will not contract. You will not send the electrical stimulation throughout your body that it needs to function and fire on all 8 cylinders, right? You need salt. Salt is not the bad guy, right? The problem with salt, so to speak, is not so much too much salt, but not enough water to flush the salt through your system so that your body can utilize it and then use what it needs and excrete the rest through sweat and urine. And the biggest problem is not too much salt, it's not enough water. So as long as you're drinking adequate water and you're physically active, too much salt is really not an issue. I mean, for active people, they actually go the opposite route and they add salt. They purposely add salt to their diet. Like in my case, where I'm working out regularly and I'm sweating a lot through gym workouts and cycling workouts and all that, I add salt. Like when I'm mixing up my water bottle to go to the gym, I literally put sodium and potassium and electrolytes in my water bottle to replenish those lost electrolytes. Like, and when I'm having food, I literally get the salt shaker and I add salt to my food because I need extra sodium, because if I don't, I'll start to cramp up. And if you ever experience muscle cramps when you're training, like especially cramps in your calves or maybe cramps in your abs or muscle cramps in any muscle group for that matter, but calves and abs tend to be some nasty ones. Like if you're doing cardio or you're doing legs or anything like that, and oh, you get the cramp in my calf, or I get a cramp in my hamstring, or you're doing this ab work like crunches and sit-ups and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden your abs lock up and you get that nasty cramp in the muscles. That's very often the cause of low sodium. Like you don't have enough electrolytes and the muscles are literally cramping up. So increasing your sodium intake can actually be advantageous in those situations. And I've got videos and blog posts talking about this. But bottom line, no, I wouldn't be worried about the salt that's naturally found in rice. Right? It's a very, very small amount for sure. And is that going to have a negative impact? No, because what happens with sodium and water retention, it's actually ironic, because once you consume a lot of sodium, like I'll put that in perspective. Adequate sodium. I don't want to make it sound like, it's a lot, because once you consume adequate sodium and you're consuming adequate water to flush that sodium through your system so that you can utilize it and then flush out the rest that you don't need through sweat and urine, your body starts to adapt and accommodate to the higher sodium intake, and it regulates its water. So you're not going to retain water once you get into the habit of drinking a lot of water and flushing it out. You'll actually retain more if you don't consume enough. So if you restrict water and you restrict sodium, that triggers the survival mechanism within your body to actually, hey, there's not enough water, there's not enough sodium coming in. Let's hold on to what we have, because who knows, we could be going through a famine or starvation mode or something here. Let's cling to what we have. And it actually causes water retention because you're not drinking enough water or you're not consuming enough sodium. It actually is the complete opposite of what people think. Right? It's just the same as the whole starvation thing when it comes to food. Like a lot of people go on these crazy crash diets, think, okay, I'm gonna starve myself and I'm gonna lose body fat. In the short term, yeah, you will, but after a while, once your body realizes, hey, we are in a severe calorie deficit here, your metabolism slows down. Your body will literally start to slow down the metabolism and slow down non-essential functions to conserve energy as much as possible. Like prime example, like a lot of times when people go on diets, your activity slows down because you just don't have enough energy. your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, slows down. In females, very often they stop their menstrual cycle because that's a non-essential activity, right? So their body literally shuts down to try and conserve energy. Whereas when you're eating adequate calories and adequate nutrients, you have endless energy. Your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, is higher. You're more energetic and outgoing and doing stuff, right? Like if I was in a severe calorie restriction right now, I'd probably talk like this and I wouldn't want to be doing much. And in fact, if I was in a really strict calorie deficit, I probably wouldn't even do this freaking video chat. I'd just go lie down on the couch because I was too damn tired to do it. But because I'm eating enough, I got energy to do this freaking chat and be with you right now. Like you're more outgoing and willing to do stuff when you have adequate nourishment in your body, right? Your body is firing on all 8 cylinders. Same applies with water and sodium. Like when you consume adequate water, adequate sodium, your body functions optimally and it's not going to retain it. It's only when you go into a severe restriction that's what causes you to retain it. So it's kind of the opposite of what a lot of people think. Like thinking, I'm going to cut back on sodium and I'm going to cut back on water to try and lose water. No, it's actually going to backfire. All right, what else we got there? John saying, Lee's, your program works very well. I'm down 60 pounds. Way to go, John. That is incredible. I don't know. John's gone through the Lose Your Gut Challenge before. I mean, that right there. I mean, kudos to you, my friend. That is impressive, right? I thank you so much for sharing. And that's why I'm passionate about these Lose Your Gut Challenges. I mean, these kind of results right here. Now, it took a while. I mean, John didn't do it in that wasn't no, hey, I lost 60 pounds in 60 days. I mean, that is a process of work because I know he's gone through these challenges and he's been following my stuff for years. But it just goes to show when you are good enough and good enough consistently over the long term, you will see the results. I mean, consistency compounds over time. And that's a great example of it right there. We have Jonas. Hi, Lee. What do you think of one arm movements compared to using both in exercises? I think it's good to see where your strength wise is, and if it's equal strength to the other bicep. Yes, all right. You can certainly incorporate single limb exercises or exercises that work both sides independently. And I do encourage people to do that, not just for arms, but for all exercises or all body parts whenever possible. Now, sometimes it's not always possible, but for example, like doing a dumbbell bench press, dumbbell curls, dumbbell rows, dumbbell shoulder presses, like anything with dumbbells where you have equal weight in left and right side, that will not only force the left and right sides to handle an equal workload, but it'll bring awareness to any imbalances. So very often what people will find, especially if there is an imbalance, like they'll hit failure with their weaker side and they'll still have reps in the tank with the stronger side. That's quite common. So if that is the case, what I would recommend is stopping your set once you hit failure with your weaker side. Like for example, let's just say you're stronger with your right arm and you curling, you're doing dumbbell curls and you hit failure at 8 reps with your left side, then only do 8 reps with your stronger side. Like don't continue to train the stronger side more than the weaker side because that's just going to accentuate that imbalance even more. Try and balance out the workload so that you're doing the same volume for both sides, and that will help to create balance and proportion over time. And you can incorporate this with pretty much all body parts. Like there's ways to incorporate single limb training. And I actually made a playlist on YouTube a while back covering single limb workouts for all your major muscle groups. So a single limb exercises for chest, for back, for shoulders, for arms, for legs. And it goes into detail about that. So if you want to check that out, just go to YouTube, or I'll probably find the link there and post it. I'll do that. Save you the hassle, I will. I'll post it there in the chat. That's a good one. I would recommend you check that out because I was actually quite proud of that playlist because it went over really well and put a lot of work into it. Single limb workout playlist. So you can go check that out. Boom, right there. If you have any imbalances between your left and right sides, definitely that would be an ideal program to follow to create balance and proportion. All right, what else we got? We have free game. Says Lee, I am 330 pounds now. I want to get to 270 in 6 months. So 60 pounds in 6 months. Ambitious, but possible for sure. How much cardio walking do I need to do, or do you recommend weightlifting? Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. You need both cardio and strength training, right? Like a lot of this right here is a common misconception that people who are new to fitness and nutrition think that once I lose all the weight, then I'm going to start strength training and lifting weights, because I don't want to lift weights while I'm still fat, because I don't want to get too big. Or some people think that lifting weights is going to prevent you from losing body fat. No, the more muscle you have on your frame, the faster your metabolism is going to be, and the faster you're going to lose body fat. And not only that, by lifting weights while you're losing body fat, it's going to prevent you from losing muscle. Because if you just went on a low calorie diet and you just did cardio, you would lose weight all right, but guess what? You're going to lose a lot of lean muscle tissue as well. And then when you have less lean muscle mass on your frame, your metabolism is going to slow down, and then it's going to make it easier for you to rebound and gain the weight back. And so you're literally like killing your metabolism if you're not lifting weights. Like you need the weightlifting at the very least to maintain your muscle, but ideally you want to build muscle while burning body fat and achieve a body recomposition. So this whole idea of I'm not going to lift weights, or because I'm heavy and I don't need to lift weights, like that's bullshit. Everybody needs to lift weights, right? I don't care. If you're overweight, you're obese, you still need to lift weights, because you're not obese because you have too much muscle, right? You have to realize body composition comes into play. Like you're not 330 pounds of lean, ripped, shredded muscle. If you were, you'd be on the Olympia stage, and right? You're probably 330 pounds of mush right now. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying that in a, let's be real and honest and transparent and cut through the hype. You need to gain muscle and lose body fat simultaneously. So you need cardio and you need weightlifting. You need both. An ideal scenario for someone who's just getting started, alternate them day for day. So one day do strength training workout, next day do cardio or go for a walk. Like when I say cardio, it means anything that where you are moving your body in an aerobic fashion for a prolonged period of time. Walking, cardio machines at the gym, cycling, swimming, mowing your grass, like anything where you are moving nonstop in a low intensity fashion, right? That's cardio. For someone who's 330 pounds, I would recommend low impact and low intensity cardio. So walking is a great form of cardio. Do not run. Like I don't want to see you doing any high impact running, because that's just going to destroy your knees and hips and ankles. That's a lot of weight. When you run and your feet are leaving the ground and you're going airborne in between strides, every time you come down and hit, it's 6 times your body weight on the joints. Like that's the pounds of pressure on the joints. So when you're running and you're coming down, it's 6 times your body weight in terms of pressure on the joints. So is it any wonder why people say, "Oh, running kills my knees. Running gives me shin splints. Running hurts my ankles." Right? If you're 300 plus pounds, yeah, of course it is. That's a lot of impact on your body. Whereas walking, where you always have one foot on the ground, it minimizes the impact and the stress, right? So there's less stress on the joints, and it's something you'll be able to do more consistently. If walking is too hard, you can even go to the gym and use things like the stationary bike or the elliptical, where there's zero impact because you have your feet on place, like on the pedals or on the footrests all the time. So you're not leaving the ground, if you will. There's no impact on the joints when you're doing like a stationary bike or elliptical. Those are great forms of cardio for anybody who has joint pain or anybody who's really overweight and wants to be able to do cardio consistently without causing joint pain. And as far as the weight training goes, start off with a basic total body workout utilizing mostly machine exercises. And again, if you want a sample one to follow, I'm going to share one with you that I have posted up here on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Where was it? It's called the most recent one I posted up. It's a total body beginners weight training workout program. Second, now I'll copy the link there. This is what I would recommend. So if any of you who are either new to the gym or coming back to the gym after a layoff, this is a great program to get started. Beginners gym workout. I'll call it that. You can go check that out right there. But yeah, you definitely need both. You need cardio and you need strength training. And of course, you need nutrition. So the best thing that I would recommend for you, sign up for the Lose Your Gut Challenge, because we are going to cover the fundamentals of all this within the challenge itself. Right? We'll be laying out a solid step-by-step action plan that you can use to start moving yourself in the right direction. All right, let's get ready to clue this up shortly now, because I'm already past the hour mark. Petro's style. Some YouTube videos for exercises to avoid include squats, deadlifts, leg press, even leg extensions can cause knee arthritis, slip spine, discs, etc. Are there any leg exercises that are actually healthy? That's all somebody's opinion. And quite honestly, for some people, yes, squats are a bad exercise. Deadlifts are a bad exercise. Leg press are bad. Leg extensions are bad. But for others, they are perfectly fine. And you have to look at it too, not just in terms of the individual, but how heavy are you pushing it? Like, there's a big difference between doing a body weight squat versus trying to squat with 300 pounds on your back, or doing a leg press with weights that are within your means versus trying to leg press 1,000 pounds and totally lifting outside your means and using crappy form. So you have to put things in perspective. It's like, I'll use the analogy of driving a car. Like, we can say driving a car is too dangerous. You should never drive a car because you're just going to get in an accident. You're going to kill yourself. Well, there's a lot of things that you can control within driving a car that can make it safer or make it more dangerous. One, like, how about we drive the car sober and not under the influence of alcohol and drugs? Like, that can make a big difference. So if you drive sober, you just reduced your risk of injury greatly compared to people who drive drunk. We can also follow the rules of the road and we can drive within the posted speed limits. That's going to make a huge difference versus people who constantly speed. We can also do things like wear our safety belts, so that if you are in an accident, at least you have a restraint there that's going to help to protect you versus people who don't wear seat belts. You can also make sure that the car maintenance is up. Like, you have good tires with adequate tread that are inflated to the proper pounds per square inch, that are inflated to the proper pressure. You can make sure that your brakes are in good working order and all this kind of stuff. Like, making sure that the maintenance of the car is up to par is going to be a lot safer than running a car that is shitty tires, bad brakes, and is falling apart. So, we can put all this stuff into perspective. So, like, when you see someone say, oh, never do this, never do that, you have to take it with a grain of salt and realize you can squat, but there's ways of squatting safely. And there's also ways of squatting quite dangerously. You can deadlift, if you want to, in a safe manner, or you can deadlift in a very careless and reckless manner. And that applies with every exercise or activity or anything that you do. Like I just said, like, we can say driving a car is totally dangerous, you should never do it. Or we can say, driving is actually quite safe if you do it in a responsible and safe fashion. Right? It's all relative. So, when people put out these videos like never do this and never do that or whatever, it's mostly clickbait, because that type of stuff gets watched a heck of a lot more. Like, if I put out a video and I say moderation is the key and yada yada yada, like, nobody watched that, right? It's too dull, it's too boring. But if I put out a video saying never do this or the worst mistakes ever, everyone's going to say, oh, well, what's that, right? Because it's clickbaity, it's catchy, and people want to find out, like, what should I never do, or what are the worst mistakes ever? But if I try to take a well-balanced approach, like I am here, and try to rationalize it, people say, oh, that's too boring, I don't want to watch that shit, right? I want the drama, I want the clickbaity titles and stuff like that. So, again, just because it's on YouTube doesn't mean it's true, right? Put it that way. There's a lot of shit on YouTube, right? There's a lot of crap there that I would not take as gospel. So you have to have your own wits about you to realize, what's true, what's legit, what's a crock of shit, what's not, right? You have to have your own wits about you. All right. What are we doing here? Um, I'm planning on doing my first mountain hill trek next month. It's about a 7-hour hike. What would be the best food to eat before and during? I'm thinking carbs, but I'm not sure. Yes, you want to be fueling on carbohydrates during that because carbohydrates is the energy that you're going to be utilizing. That's carbohydrates are your high octane fuel source. And if you're doing a multi-hour hike, then you definitely want to be fueling because if you try to do that 7-hour hike fasted, you will literally run out of energy and you're not going to be able to sustain it. The thing is, you want to start practicing in training for that hike because I'm assuming that you must be doing some sort of hiking or cardio or something now to prepare for it. Like you're not just going to, oh, I never did any hiking or any cardio and I'm just going to all of a sudden do 7 hours in a single go. I mean, if that's what you're planning on doing, then please don't. Right? That's like someone saying, "Hey, I've never run a marathon before, but I think I'm going to sign up and run a marathon for shits and giggles and see how it goes." Like, no, do not do that. Right? You have to train for these things, right? Even a 7-hour hike, you still have to train for it. Like I remember several years back, my wife and I we climbed Grossmorn Mountain here in Newfoundland, and that's about a 7-hour hike to go up and down that mountain. And in preparation for that, I was doing about an hour of cardio a day on some steep trails. For those of you who are familiar with Newfoundland, I was hiking the Signal Hill Trail, and I was doing that multiple times a week leading up to our Gross Mourne hike so that I would be prepared for it. And even then, I still found the Gross Mourne freaking challenging. Like if you've never done it before, it's not a hike for beginners. Like you've got to be in shape to do that thing. But you got to practice first of all the training and the hiking and everything else to get your conditioning up. But while you're doing those training hikes, that's a good time to also practice your nutrition. So you could practice eating foods, to help nourish you and to fuel you during those hikes as well. And this is where you can actually train your gut to get used to eating and exercising at the same time. This has been the game changer in the world of endurance sports in recent years, is pre and intra workout nutrition and literally training your gut. And you can do that. You can train your gut to be able to eat and exercise at the same time so that it can process the food. Because if you're not used to it, it can cause a lot of upset and stomach issues and stuff like that. So start off small and build up to it. And one that I like to do a lot of is like a simple one with your water bottles. You can mix in some carbohydrate powder with your water bottles, mix in some amino acids and some electrolytes. So for me, like prime example, I'm going to be doing a bicycle race tomorrow morning. I'm going to be doing a time trial race. And in my water bottle, I'm going to have carbohydrate powder. For me, it's going to be maltodextrin, which is basically just pure starchy carbohydrates. It's basically an easy absorbing complex carbohydrate. So maltodextrin powder, I will have that in my water bottle. I'm also going to have some essential amino acids in my water bottle, and I'm going to have some sodium and potassium. So literally sea salt, and I've got some potassium chloride that I'm going to put in there as well, so that I'll have my electrolytes covered. So aminos, carbs, and electrolytes, and that's what I'll be drinking during the race. You can start practicing that now while you're doing your training hikes. Right, sip on that, and that'll just get your body used to it, and then you can experiment with, how much electrolytes do you need, how much are you losing, and stuff like that. But that's a good thing to gauge it by. Now, in your situation, I'm assuming this is going to be a recreational hike. So you're probably not going to be pushing at max effort, and you're going to be able to stop for rest breaks along the way and everything else. It's not like a race where you're, pushing against the clock and every second counts. So if you're more casual about it, which I'm assuming you will be, you can pack a lunch and stop and have a picnic on the top of the mountain, and enjoy it, make a day of it, right? That's totally fine as well. But you still want to make sure that you're feeding yourself and doing so with foods that are easy to digest. Right? This isn't the time to be, going up there and chowing down on high fat or, hard to absorb foods. Like I wouldn't go up there and start eating like T-bone steak or something like that while you're in the middle of a mountain hike. Like that's just going to sit on your gut and not provide any utilizable energy for the hike itself. It's just going to be sitting like a rock in your stomach. But easy to absorb foods, like easy to digest foods. That's what you want. Again, carbohydrates that are easy for you to digest. Ideally, too, you want to keep the fiber low because fiber slows digestion. I mean, that's great for like your post-workout meals or meals outside that workout window. But when you're actually active and exercising, you don't want high fiber food in your stomach to be slowing the digestion and also potentially having to cause you to have a dump in the woods. Right? Like you want low fiber when you're active so that the food is easily absorbed and easily utilized, and you can actually get the glycogen into the system as fast as possible. But yeah, I mean, I actually have some videos talking about like endurance nutrition. I'm trying to think of the names of them now. Yeah, like literally, I've got a couple of them there. One is like how to fuel for your endurance workouts for maximum energy, sports nutrition versus bodybuilding nutrition. So there's a couple of those videos. If you just go to my YouTube channel and search for endurance nutrition, it'll pop up there in the search results, right? But that's something. Here's one I'm going to just share with you real quick. Let's see. I'll just call it endurance nutrition. You can go check that out. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to get ready and include this up shortly. I know there's still some others. Thank you, City, for sponsoring the chat. Much appreciated. It says, if you have 2 days per week and 1 hour for each session for gym, how would you construct your workouts? That depends. And I'm going to give you some examples. You can do total body workouts twice a week. And for my situation and for a lot of my coaching students that I'm working with who have limited time and are only doing 2 sessions per week, that's what I recommend. 2 total body workouts per week, but you can change the exercises. So if you're just starting off, it's okay to do the same workout each time just to kind of build that habit and get into the routine of exercise. But once you get, like after the first month or after the first 6 weeks, you can add in some extra exercise variations, but still do a total body workout. So, for example, like one workout, you may utilize mostly machine exercises. The next one, you might utilize mostly free weight exercises. Or one workout, you might utilize mostly compound exercises. The next one, you might utilize more isolation exercises. So you can provide some unique muscle stimulation that way and to hit the muscles from different angles and positions. But I would recommend doing total body workouts because that way, at least you're still hitting all your major muscle groups twice a week. And I posted there, if you go back through the questions and comments, I believe I posted a link to a total body beginner's workout. That's what I would start with. Like you could literally do that workout program twice a week. And then after you've been doing that for about a month, I would probably incorporate a similar structure, but then do different exercise variations. So prime example, like instead of like one workout, do a machine chest press. Next workout, do maybe a free weight bench press. One workout, do a machine row. Next workout, do a free weight row, either a barbell or a dumbbell row. So you're hitting the muscles from different angles and positions and providing unique muscle stimulation, but you're still getting that total body workout and still getting the frequency. And quite honestly, you can make amazing progress with 2 workouts a week. Like if you are consistent, can like week in, week out, nailing 2 workouts a week and following that up with proper nutrition, you can make really good gains. And a lot of people think that if I can't work out 5-6 days a week or whatever, it's not worth it. I'm telling you right now, you can make amazing gains. And one of my coaching students that I'm working with now, in-person student that I'm training at the gym, over the summer, basically, we strive for 3 workouts a week, but a lot of times it's been 2 workouts a week, because life gets in the way, work schedules get in the way or whatever. And a lot of times we're only getting in there twice a week. but he's making progress in virtually every single workout. He's seeing his strength go up. Like his lifts are going up. He's getting stronger. He's getting leaner. So he's getting stronger. He's building muscle and he's losing fat. And I mean, like last night we were at the gym training together, and he pulled what was it, a 325 deadlift for 5 reps. Right? He only started working out 6 months ago, or probably not even 6 months ago. I mean, I don't know. It was back the spring, so yeah, it was probably about 6 months. But from beginner, 6 months later to repping out with over 300 pounds in the deadlift, and like no real previous weight training experience other than dabbling with it a bit. But like there was no structured training program or structured nutrition program before 6 months ago. And this guy's in his mid-30s. So like he's not like a teenager going through, puberty with testosterone levels on bust or something like that. I mean, like he's a grown ass man who's making solid gains and doing 2 workouts a week, right? So, bottom line, it's consistency. I mentioned this over and over again. It's consistency trumps intensity. If you can be consistent and let that compound, it's amazing the progress you can make. And it doesn't have to be as hard as people think it has to be. Like you don't have to kill yourself in the gym 6 days a week. You don't have to starve yourself on chicken and broccoli or anything like that. You just have to be good enough and good enough consistently. And again, that's what we're going to be drilling home to you within the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And we'll be sharing real world examples of people who've gone through this and real world results of how good enough and good enough consistency can make amazing progress when compounded over time, right? Like this is where like you follow this approach and not just think of it like I'm going to follow it for the next few months or the next 6 months or whatever. Like think bigger. Like where are you going to be this time next year, in 3 years, 5 years, or even 10 years from now? Like the people who are good enough and good enough consistently, when they've been doing this for years and it starts to compound, that's when you see them and you're like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you like? What's your workout program? What's your supplements? What are you taking? Like, holy shit, man, like what's on the go here? And it's not that they're doing anything crazy. It's that they've got a solid program and that they've been doing consistently and they've let that consistency compound over time, right? That is the kicker. That's the game changer, right? It's learning how to make that happen. All right. But anyway, folks, hopefully you got some value from today's video chat. I certainly enjoyed it. I love doing these chats. I love interacting with you and just getting a chance to shoot the breeze about something I'm passionate about. All right. So hopefully you got some value from it, and I'm going to get ready and clue it up. And in the meantime, make sure to sign up for the Lose Your Gut Challenge if you haven't already done so. You can head on over to leehayward.com. And it's the first post over there. It's the Lose Your Gut Challenge, and that explains what the program is, how it works, and how you can register. And again, this is a 5-day free coaching program where we're going to lay out a solid action plan for you as far as training and nutrition and lifestyle habits so that you can lose your gut and keep it off while enjoying the process. So head on over to leehayward.com to sign up for that. And we'll be kicking that off next weekend. So again, it starts next Saturday, the 28th of September is when we're going to be kicking off the Lose Your Gut Challenge, and I hope to see you as part of the group. All right, I'm going to clue it up. Have yourself a great one, and I'll talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.